Ah, damn. Title IX. Oh, sexual harassment. Some that's like a rule around college that, you know, if you harass a female or if a male harasses a female or vice versa, they get expelled ASAP. You gotta go on trial. I know University of Cincinnati don't play with Title IX. That's what I know.
Oh. Title IX is Jill Schaefer's our Title IX coordinator. Title IX is protecting or making sure there's equal rights for both women and men on campus.
From what I know, Title IX is where girls are allowed the same amount of scholarships as guys in a university setting.
It's equality for women in sports.
Title IX is it's an act that was passed that was basically gave the purpose of it was to give women or girls equal rights in sports as guys. So if there's a guys sports team, like a baseball team, there should be a girls softball team. There should be guys basketball, girls basketball. That's kind of the simplistic version of it. That's most of what I know. Obviously, there's not like girls football teams or anything like that, but it's basically supposed to give girls equal opportunity as boys in sports.
The rape thingy with the woman. Right? Protecting feminism and stuff?
So Title IX is a federal civil rights law, and I think that's a really important piece to this conversation because we have often talked about issues around gender and sex as being a feminist issue, which it absolutely is. We've talked about it as a violence prevention issue, which it absolutely is. We've talked about it as a criminal issue, which it also can be. And Title IX is an opportunity for us to talk about gender equity and violence prevention as a civil rights issue. And we haven't historically done that. And that to me is a really exciting piece. It's why I transitioned from doing violence prevention work as an advocate to doing Title IX work, because I got really excited at the idea that we can talk about this as a civil right.
Many people use Title IX as a scapegoat when a men's team is cut and replaced with a women's team, but that is not the correct reason. What a lot of people don't know is that it comes down to what sports are most people and players most interested in.
And so really what ended up happening is people were saying, well, why don't we have a men's team, but we don't have any women's sports? And the answer would be what? What would be the reason why we don't have women's sports? Think back to an age when we didn't think about gender equity. Why would people say we don't need to have women's sports?
Girls don't play sports.
Oh my God, girls are not interested in this. God, what are you talking about?
Women are too fragile.
They are fragile. Oh my God, like it'll just hurt them. Like
They might get dirty.
They might get dirty. We don't want to do that. My favorite was always we don't want to make a bunch of lesbians. Somehow, and I've actually seen that written down. A lot of what we have in Title IX around athletics, it's a lot more specific, it's a lot more focused because there's been a ton of lawsuits, and so explaining how we make sure that we're equitable in our athletics has been something that was a lot easier for them to do. About Title IX is to help push back on that when somebody goes, oh, that's an athletics law. It's so much more than athletics. That's a big part, and as somebody who got to play sports as a kid that I probably wouldn't have had it not been for Title IX, we want to celebrate that, but we also really want to think about it's so much more. And just kind of giving that information, hey, it's actually a lot more than that. Sending people over to the Title IX website, which is uc.edu/Title IX, helping them think about it as something more. And the more that people have connections to it, the more that people have gone to a training or they've come in and seen how they can use it in class and how it's changing our campus for the better, I think we'll see more people who want to speak out about it and really make a connection. What I love is when people are in crisis. That's my skill set. When somebody is losing their mind, I'm there and I like it. When you start crying, I'm like, I'm on, let's do this. I know how to sit with you and be comfortable with that. The programming piece, the education piece, I love as well because I'm an educator by training. But what I really get passionate and excited about is being there in that moment when somebody is having the worst possible part of their life and how I can help get them through that. So for years, we have said to our LGBTQ students, faculty, and staff, it gets better. Tough it out. You know, maybe you can drop that class. Use different pronouns when you're in that class so that professor won't bother you. You know, maybe if you dress this way, they won't pay attention to you. And that bullshit is done, okay? If somebody wants to make that choice, that that's how they want to handle their identity and their academic place, that is okay because they get to make the choice, but we are not forcing that on them. So if somebody is in a formal process, so we have a formal complaint filed against them, our office is going to investigate it, and for students it goes to judicial affairs for a hearing. At that point, our job is to make sure that they receive all their due process rights, okay? So that they have the opportunity to respond to the complaint, to provide witnesses, to provide evidence, to see a copy of my file before it goes to judicial affairs. We make sure they have the right to have anybody with them at any of our meetings they want. And then we'll move them on to the judicial affairs process where they have the same rights. They're accused, but there doesn't go into the formal complaint process. And it's a case-by-case basis depending on what we do. There are times when I notify someone who's accused. So I may send a letter that says, dear so-and-so, you've been accused of engaging in broadly kind of X issue. And at this time, the university's not taking a complaint. We kind of draft those letters often with the reporting person. There are times when the person who reports says, I want you to use my name and I want you to tell them not to talk to me anymore. Okay, we'll put that in there. You know, so Jill has said that she does not want to have any contact from me going forward. And doing so, if you do contact Jill, that could constitute a violation of Ohio law. It could also constitute a violation of university policy. So we do that sometimes. It kind of just depends case by case. There's times when that may not be a safe thing to do for a victim, and we will honor that whenever we can. But there's a moment for me to at least say, I need to reality check you. If you've been accused of something, if you're doing it, it has got to stop. And I do want them to know that a complaint could come in the future. Because if you choose to not file a complaint on April 14th when you report to me, right now the way our procedure works, you have up to 2 years to file it. After that, it's a case by case based on like, can we actually do a reasonable investigation for it?
And that gets me really excited, is the idea that even though there are times when we hold someone accountable and there are very serious consequences for the issues that come through my office, but we can say that we went through that process, you were treated with dignity, you were treated with respect, that you were given your opportunity to provide a defense, and we thoughtfully considered it and had a transparent process. That to me is a huge opportunity to create change.
When somebody comes in and says, I've been harmed, are you safe? What do we need to make sure you're safe? And what do we need to do to keep you successful? Whatever successful looks like. So yes, we are seeing a rise in reports, and I think that's a good thing. What you'll hear from other schools around the country is, okay, so our reports are going up this year, but we have really great programming, and we really expect that in the next 2 years, we're gonna see a decline in reports. Okay, we're fighting against how much cultural norm? Our reports are going to be high. They're going to be high for a long time. And that is what it is. We can reduce those numbers, yes, but we are an institution that is constantly bringing in new people, and new people who lived in a world that said it's okay to do this. So we are always starting from scratch with new people, new employees, new faculty, new students, new visitors to campus. We are always going to have numbers. We have 44,000 students, and those numbers are going to go up. So for us to think that our goal is to get down to 10 reports a year. I have colleagues who they say that. I'm like, what's wrong with you? That's just not statistically possible. We're not anomalies, we're not bubbles. Can we reduce our numbers? Yes, but we are never gonna be some magical place where incidents don't happen. The goal is people recognize it quickly, people know what their rights are, and we have a process that works like clockwork.